As Alaskans, we have a lot in common. Among them, the beauty of our state, our love for the outdoors, and the people we share all that with. But living in such a remote place brings its share of challenges as well. Many of them are unique to various parts of Alaska, and many more are still shared in places like Kenai, Nome, Fairbanks, and Valdez. Over the past 4 months, Channel 2 has visited communities all over the state, speaking directly to Alaskans about their biggest challenges. We also found some inspiring success stories as well. On this edition of One Alaska, Our Home, 7 of those men and women from across the state join us in our studio to continue that conversation. Tonight, we're all One Alaska.
Now, Channel 2 News presents One Alaska, Our Home. Here's your host, Steve McDonald.
Welcome to One Alaska, Our Home. Tonight we have 7 guests representing 7 different cities across the state. They're from Anchorage, Fairbanks, Valdez, Kenai, Nome, Bethel, and Onalaska. These are everyday people. None of them hold official titles like a political office, but they've all lived in Alaska for many years and know firsthand the challenges and benefits of living in our home. Let's meet our Alaskans now. First of all, from Bethel, there's JoJo Prince. We welcome you to the program. Next to him, Mike Williams. He's from Valdez. And Reen Gray made the trek from the interior in Fairbanks. Frank Kelty made the long journey from Onalaska. Susan Smalley calls Kenai home. Marjorie Taybone is from Nome, and Lafette Knox represents the Anchorage area. Thank you all for being here tonight. It is going to be a discussion on some of the challenges facing Alaska and some possible solutions. As always, we hope that what you hear during our program will spark a similar conversation in your community. Throughout the program, we'll also get to know more about our guests and the places they call home. We want to start off tonight in Bethel and JoJo Prince's story.
People say I'm a fixture here because I'm always out and about talking to everybody, and I love Bethel. Bethel's home. Everybody here is a friend of everybody. A simple quick trip to the store usually adds up to 10 minutes of talking to some friends from one of the villages or introducing yourself to a new person here in town. Because you see a lot of new people here almost on a daily basis. And you're in line and you ask how they're doing, where they're from. And I'm an open-minded person. I like talking to everybody. People say this is an ugly town, but if you get behind a camera and look around, there's a lot of beauty here. And the sunsets are great, the sunrises are great, and all the scenery is great here. A lot of songbirds in summertime and birds in the winter they can take pictures of. It's just the scenery makes everything wonderful here. One of the latest things that I noticed living here is that these kids nowadays don't have any respect at all. Respect for people's property, respect for each other's. Not like the old days where everybody respected each other, and now it's a free-for-all for the kids. They say there's nothing to do here, which is not true. There's a lot of things you can do here. You can go help an elder, help your neighbor, help your parents. The worst part of living here is there's a lot of drugs and alcohol that is being used, and it's overused. I told myself a long time ago that I'm not going to be like that when I grow up. I'm not going to drink, and I've stayed good at that promise to myself, so that's part of me. I mean, I don't drink. I don't miss out on anything. All my friends, not all my friends, but some of my friends that drink, you try to do something with them on the weekend, they're just sleeping or something, and they don't want to do anything like that. They're in bed fighting a hangover or being too lazy to go anywhere or do anything. And I love going boating and fishing, so their loss, I'll go catch the fish. I've traveled overseas, and I've been all across Alaska. And it's the people in Alaska that makes everything nice here. You could stop and talk to anyone in the gas station, on the road system, and everybody will talk back to you. They're not going to treat like a stranger. But you go to any place here in Alaska, you stop and say hi to someone, they'll say hi back to you. And that's how conversations and friends are met, you know. Like they say, Bethel's special. Once you come here to the Bethel area, and you work here for a while, and you leave, there's a thought in the back of your head that wants you to come back to Bethel because of the people here. And that's part of the reason why I'm so friendly to everybody, is make them feel welcome here when they move to Bethel. So someone's got to be the nice guy here.
And that's JoJo Prince, who resides in Bethel. Let's talk to JoJo now. And obviously, you feel it's a very friendly town, JoJo.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And does it make you mad when somebody comes up? You'd pointed out in the interview that some people say Bethel's ugly. Does that make you angry? And how does that make you feel?
Well, it gets me mad because they're there for a temporary job or something, and they don't see the beauty there. Mm-hmm. They don't open their eyes. They still think they're in the city when they come to Bethel.
How about one of the things that you said that was a real challenge? You said there's a lack of respect between the kids in Bethel and their elders. Has that changed since you were younger, and why do you think that is today?
It's not necessarily the youth to the elders. It's the youth nowadays, and some of the young adults. They don't take care of Bethel. They trash it, and they vandalize things, and they steal slow machines and four-wheelers and bicycles and break car windows, truck windows.
Is there just not enough for things for kids to do out there? Are they bored? I mean, there's no excuse for doing things like that, but what do you think the reason is?
They're bored.
They're bored. Yeah. Let's open this up to the panel now. Anybody want to join in here on that? Is that a similar problem in any of the other communities? Frank, at all?
I think it is. I think one of the issues that we've seen is something similar. We had some vandals spray paint the Orthodox Church in Onalaska not 2 years ago. That set off, naturally, that's our treasure in our community, and set off a really, people were very, very unhappy about that. How could somebody do something like that? But I think a lot of the things that we try to address in Onalaska is work on programs to try and keep the kids involved. We've got 2 gymnasiums that are open almost all year round, swimming pool, facilities. If you have facilities and come up with programs for people to get involved in, even the young adult programs in the evening, and the programs that the school puts on in our Parks, Culture, and Recreation. I think getting programs together where people can get off the street and do things is very important.
Okay, Frank, thanks. Henry, when you and I talked up in Fairbanks, I guess it was last month when we spoke, you made a similar remark to us as well, that there were a lot of things in Fairbanks that had closed down that were geared to get kids off the street, like recreation centers, things like that. You want to elaborate more on that for us here?
Yes. At one time, we had skating rings. We had places for the teens to participate as a group with their age groups and things of that nature. And so many of them have closed down, and a lot of the places that were closed down, they have not reopened. And so they have looked for other avenues to focus their attention and their energy. And so what we're trying to do now is, as a church, find things in the church for the children to do outside of the church, taking them places, not only in Alaska, but outside of Alaska. And so this is one way to keep them out of trouble. One of the other things that we notice, drugs have really become so prevalent there now, in our community, with the young people. And so they find that this is a way to focus their attention and their energy and things of this nature. So we are trying to capitalize on that and put a stop to that by educating the parents and the children and the teens, in that area.
Henry, thanks. Let's get to know you a little bit better. Let's go to the story of Henry Gray, who is from the Fairbanks North Pole area.
We are anchored and settled right here in Fairbanks to make it a better country, a better city, a better state. I've gotten so involved with the community and with the people that are here in Fairbanks, and getting involved in what is going on here in Fairbanks with the Chamber of Commerce, with the different churches and the different organizations that are reaching out to different communities, even out to the villages. When you look at Alaska, it is just so diversity. Everyone has their own uniqueness about them. Fairbanks in the winter, we are colder. Anchorage is warmer. When it gets down to about 50 and 60 below zero weather, winters can be pretty harsh here. We are so limited here in Fairbanks. when it comes to the people and their children, because so many of the things that we used to have, far as activities for the children and places for the children to go and have outlets, has been taken away, and they have not replaced them. They had skating rings, recreation centers. Now, all of this was downtown. We still have them on base. But for those people that are not affiliated with the bases, they cannot, participate because they don't have the ID, or what we call identification, to get on base. So they have no outlets other than the churches and the school system. We would have to come together and then get on one accord with each other and come up with solutions how we can better Fairbanks, Anchorage, the villages, and the surrounding cities. But that's the hardest thing, even for the churches, to come together in oneness. Because this one have their ideas, this one have their ideas, and we don't want to come together and try to solve it. And that's what I would like to do, and that's what we try to do when we go to other cities, other countries, and other nations. Try to bring the people together in oneness. And that's what has happened. I think even in America, we don't have a lot of trust in each other. And if we don't have the trust, we certainly can't love one another.
And again, back to Henry, and you were talking about the lack of resources for kids. Is that a Fairbanks issue that Fairbanks has to solve, or is that something the entire state, Juneau, has to get involved with as well, do you feel?
I think as a whole, the entire state need to be involved in it. And once we all come together and get involved in it, we can help each other. Right now, it's sort of like a separate entity. Each city has to work out its own problems, Well, Fairbanks, you have this problem. Nome, you have your problem. Ketchikan, Uniclick, and all of those places have their own problem. But if we would all come together in oneness and unity and sit down and discuss those things, I think we would come up with some solutions that would solve these problems.
All right. Henry, thank you. Marjorie is from Nome, and she made it very clear to us that she is by far the youngest person of the group. Thanks, Marjorie, for pointing that out. Yeah. But you're closer to that age group that we're talking about right now. Are there enough things for kids in Alaska to do, or at least in your community? I guess you can speak best to Nome. Or what do you feel the solution is, or what do you feel the problem is, first of all?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many things. One thing that I had a hard time hearing when I grew up is youth are disrespectful. I had a really hard time hearing that because I felt like I was being the most respectful person. And the opportunity to speak with elders was always there, and I took it. But sometimes it wasn't always that easy for people, for the youth. We're kind of intimidated, this high standard that these elders are at, that we have to respect them and honor them. We take that very seriously, and at least among my peers in Nome. And we have a lot of programs going on. And one of the things that I really want to stress, too, is that there are more kids doing good than bad. When we highlight the kids that are doing the bad things, vandalism and things, we're just highlighting that. We're not highlighting the people that are doing the good things, the youth. We have amazing kids in Nome, just kids that are just really ready and willing to learn our culture. I mean, it's a known fact. We did a poll in the school, and they want more cultural activities happening in Nome and more things that involve being with the elders and the parents and being together. And that's something that we should really be highlighting and really not be focusing on the negative things and what you say, like, what's wrong? Well, nothing's wrong. If you think of it like that way, then we can see all the problems. But really what we should be highlighting is all the amazing things that's happening in our communities.
Okay. Marjorie is a good point. We thank you for making that as well. Far more good that kids are doing than the small percentage of the bad.
Yeah, and we're so lucky that that's happening because it has been changing, which is great. We're finding that more and more kids are doing good in school. More and more kids want to go to college, which is amazing. But, we're always going to have those problems. And what are we going to do to solve them? And I think we're doing a great job and pushing our kids and the youth forward in that positive direction.
Marjorie, thanks very much. We're going to take a break on One Alaska. We'll be back with more right after this.